creatives, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to make a fall scene using some new tools in Photoshop and also some nice fun effects. That way we can make it very moody, very fall for November. If you are new here, hi, my name is Angela. I am a graphic designer and an illustrator. I make videos all about that. I also help you guys to learn some new skills and improve on some skills that you probably haven't used in a little bit. And for all of you who have subscribed, thank you. If you haven't, go ahead and give this video a like if you like Photoshop videos, and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. That way you get notified every time I make a new video. And let's dive in. So I have a photo right here. I took this, I think, two weeks ago, something like that. Anyway, it was sunset at the time, so I figured it'd be a perfect time to take a nice photo with my new iPhone. So it is really nicely detailed, and what we're going to do is we're going to start with one of the newest tools in this program, and it's called the Spot Healing Brush Tool, or the Spot Healing Tool. It is located right over here in the left toolbar, symbolized by a band-aid. We're also going to add a few other elements in here to create a beautiful fall scene because, I mean, for right now, it's just a pile of dirt. We don't really want the pile of dirt. We also don't want these power lines here, so we're going to take those away. We're going to add some pumpkins and some fall things, and we're going to make it really cute, very fall. We're going to use some nice effects to help us get there. So let's dive into this, and let's start with adding our elements. Now over here on the right toolbar, you have your minimized layers docket is what I call it, and then you have your full layers panel, and then you have your properties panel. So I'm going to go into the layers panel, and I'm going to turn on everything that I have pulled from the internet. So I'm going to place this one where I think I should place it, just to hide that dirt mound there. And then we're going to add some shadows to it in a minute. There we go, and now we're going to mess with brand new Spot Healing Tool because that one is very good, and then we're going to get into the effects and lighting and stuff. Let's go back to that first layer. Whenever you import a photo, if you all don't know how to, there is this import option over here on the left toolbar above the eyedropper tool. That one you have, you can go into your photos, and then you can choose whatever photo you want to add in to your canvas here. Now it automatically adds it onto a new layer, or you can create your own new layer by pressing this plus sign either in the layers docket here or just on the toolbar here to the right and choose new layer. It pops up a new layer for you. I don't particularly need a new layer, so I'm just going to delete that one. You can tap on the layer itself and press the trash can to delete one. We're on the background layer, so let's zoom in here. Let's choose our Spot Healing tool. Now with the Spot Healing brush, it is a brush, so I'm going to bring the hardness down a little bit. The brush size is a bit small. Let's go up to 32. So when you use it, you're going to paint over basically an area, and it's going to pull color, texture, and lighting from the surrounding area to make whatever you selected disappear, or whatever you brushed over disappear. So it's kind of like your content-aware fill in the desktop version of Photoshop. As you can see here, it is a little bit wonky, so you have to make sure that you grab small sections, and I like to grab it at different angles. That way you get more of a believable area here, so that way it doesn't look like you messed with it, but I mean you messed with it, but it doesn't look like it as much, so you can start to see how it's going. On the desktop version with this tool, you do, if you do content aware fill, you can go into options and you can choose a selection that you want to pull from, which is very, very handy. However, in the iPad version, that's not here yet, but I hear it's coming. So I'm going to be doing a kind of like an update of what's coming for Photoshop. So keep an eye out for that because there are some exciting things that are going to be coming out and I'm really excited for them. Now there is another tool you can use for this type of work. I'm gonna go up here. Actually, let's go in the middle. Yeah, I'm gonna go right here. And if you tap on the spot healing brush tool, a submenu pops up. You can choose the clone stamp tool. Now, the clone stamp tool is very handy. I love this tool. I used to use it so much when I was doing Photoshop work. This one has a selector. So you select and place your selector anywhere that you want to pull from as far as like color, texture, and lighting and stuff. And then you go in and it paints over it for you from your selection. You see how this little selector, it may be hard for you guys to see, but you see how this little selector is pulling from the surrounding area right up here? It's literally pulling from the area above that I selected, and it is painting over the lines based on that selected area. Now you have to, you do have to be careful with this because it can look very same, and you don't want it to look like you've messed with a photograph, so be very careful when you're using the clone stamp tool. It still has to be believable. That is your selector. I'm going to be choosing selections in different areas at different times, and it does move with you, which is great. The reason why I'm choosing different areas for selection is because you don't want, for instance, there's dark and light here. You don't want it to look like that, basically. So the way to get away from that, tap on the clone stamp tool, choose your spot healing brush, and then just draw over it, and it blends it so beautifully. Okay. To where it doesn't look fully like you've messed with it that much. I'm gonna go this way as well. Alright, now that we have those lines removed, then we can go into the lighting of all the other elements here and fix them up just a tad, so that way they look like they're backlit. So with the hay bales, we're going to go into the properties panel, and we're going to add a clipped adjustment. Let's do hue and saturation first. I'm going to make this a bit more saturated because it's during like the evening time at sunset. I'm going to move this hue down a bit to make it more red toned. And then I'm going to add a blend mode to this. Let's see what works best. I think soft light might be our one. I'm going to bring the opacity of soft light down. Let's increase the saturation for this type of day. Let's decrease the lighting a bit more. This is all about look and feel for the photograph itself. That looks like it's blending better. I'm going to do more of exposure, and for exposure you have these options here, so you can have more exposure or less. I'm going to do less, and I'm liking what I'm seeing right now, so that looks like it's fitting more into the photograph. Now as you zoom in, you can see that there are some areas where the selection of this wasn't so great, so I'm going to take my eraser tool and take a soft round eraser, and I'm just going to gently, whoops, I'm not on the right layer. I'm just going to gently, whoops, that was not so gentle. I'm just going to gently erase the white outline from this. So now that looks a bit more like it's supposed to be in the scene, and now the only thing left we have to do is do the lighting for the pumpkins and then also shading underneath the hay bales. Now with any photograph, you're going to have differences in lighting, shading, perspective. So I really wanted to get this perspective correct, which is why I chose a photo that had differing angles of perspective. Distort this slightly so that it looks more like it's in the photograph, like it's sitting in the photograph. There we go. By just using the skew and the distort, you can use whichever ones you would prefer. I prefer those. Let's fix the lighting on these pumpkins here. They look kind of big, don't they? Let's scale them down a bit more and place them better so that way they look like they're more in place of where they're supposed to be. Now, I'm just gonna add a clipped adjustment from the properties panel just because it's easier for me. And let's choose levels. Now, levels works just like it would on the desktop. You can move the midpoint to give yourself more lighting in some areas and less lighting in others. Okay, that looks like it's supposed to. All right, add another clipped adjustment here. All right, I think I'm gonna go back to the hay bales and add a clipped adjustment of levels as well, just so that I can add a bit more red tone in here. Big eyesore in here are these pumpkins right here because of the coloring of them. Let's choose their layer. So I'm gonna take this clipped adjustment layer that we did the levels on for the small pumpkins. I'm gonna go into these 3 bars. I'm going to copy that, select this pumpkin layer, and I'm gonna paste that over it. Whoa, that's nice and deep. That's going to be a clipped adjustment to only the pumpkins there. There we go. So now they look on a similar level. Let's choose the pumpkin layer. I'm gonna make sure that the clipped adjustment of exposure is correct. Now there's some weird lighting coming here from the photograph that it was on, so we're gonna go back into our spot healing brush tool and we're going to fix that a bit. All right, now that we have done that, we are going to then add some nice shadows. Oh, it did move it. I thought it might have. There we go. Now we're gonna add some nice shadows. This does look still too tall, doesn't it? Yes, it does. There we go. So for shadowing, I'd like to create the shadows more underneath the hay bale than anything else because there's going to be some interesting complicated shadows happening here. So I'm going to tap on the background layer and add a new layer. Let's choose a dark fill color. Most likely be like a reddish orange brown. There we go. And I'm going to choose a brush. I want a brush that's going to be very, very soft with a little bit of texture to it. Let's try this paper texture and see what that looks like. Oh, that actually looks pretty good. All right, let's increase the brush size. Yeah, that's better. All right, now since we have the lighting coming from behind and we're coming forward, we're going to put a lot of shadow under here on this edge. The overall finished look of the shadow, we're going to do, I think, multiply looks really good at this point. Let's see, I could even bring the opacity of it down slightly. And I can add more of the shadowing at the base here. So I'm all doing this with the same brush, just the soft round brush. It's a very simple brush, it's defaulted in Photoshop, and you don't have to do like extra downloads of anything. Now these pumpkins already have some deep lighting on the bottom of them, so we're gonna add some to the top. I did try to do it a little bit earlier, but let's add a new layer. It's not going to be clip adjusted to this, it's just going to be laying on top. I'm going to keep the same colors that we've been using for all of our shadows so far, and I'm just going to see how this is going to react on top slightly. You just want to do a very light hand. Oh, that's a bit too much. Just a very light hand when it comes to the shadowing here, especially on these white pumpkins here. And then we're going to add a little bit extra shadow just underneath the pumpkin layer here, because we did not do that before, so we're going to do it now. Just going to add a new layer, drag and drop it, unclip it, and we're still using that same brush with that same shadow color. I'm just adding more depth to it. So you can always go into any clipped adjustment layer, go into your properties panel, and mess around with it even more. If you think it's not exactly set to where you want it to be set, you can always go back in and readjust. These two white pumpkins, this one here and this one here, are not really doing what I want. So we can make a separate selection. If you double tap the lasso tool over here, you can make a quick selection. You can choose the quick selection tool and select the pumpkin. I'm going to go back into the properties panel, and now it will only select and change anything based in this selection here. So let's make this a bit deeper, a bit duller. And we're going to do the same thing to this little pumpkin over here. And then we have a bit more of a fall scene going on. Now I can go into the background layer and I can choose a nice beautiful brush. Let's go ahead and add a new layer above it. So in case we don't want it, if we don't like it, we can take it away. And I'm going to take my soft round brush, choose more of like almost like an orange color. We're going to bring the opacity is like at 18, which is perfect. And I'm just going to give the grass kind of like an overlay effect. And that's how you make your own little fall scene photo composite. Now you can make any kind of photo composite you want. You can make it as intricate as you want. I hope that this helped you to learn how to use the clone stamp tool, the spot healing brush tool, in conjunction with each other, and then also using a lot of clipped adjustments and lighting adjustments to give yourself a nice little fall scene that you can make over and over again from any photograph. So I hope you guys have a wonderful November, and I will see you all in my next video. See you soon, creatives.